turning point in the Gospel of Luke. And if you aren't looking for it, you'll miss it. It happens in chapter 9, and it's subtle. Up until this point, Jesus was teaching, healing, casting out demons, and performing miracles. As you might expect, his fame grew. I mean, who wouldn't want to watch Jesus do cool stuff? It was a fun time to be a follower of Jesus. I mean, through no real work of your own, you were popular and famous just by association. People treated you differently. You received attention that you never would have before. But in Luke 9, it changes. It starts when Jesus calls together his disciples and says, okay, now I want you to go out and do all the things that you've seen me do. Wait, what? No, Jesus. We're the disciples. We watch. You're the Messiah. You do. But Jesus says no. Now what it means to be my disciple is that you have to go out and do the things that I do. And if that wasn't enough, Jesus starts teaching them about God's kingdom and the character of it. In God's kingdom, those who want to save their life will lose it. In God's kingdom, we have to deny ourselves and pick up a cross. In God's kingdom, children and those considered least important are welcome to the front. In God's kingdom, the first are last and the last first. This is sounding less and less fun by the minute. And then the verse that changes everything comes. It's easy to miss. Luke tells us that Jesus turned his face towards Jerusalem. Now, it's important to note something here. When Luke tells us that Jesus started traveling to Jerusalem, he's not talking about geography. This wasn't just about a literal road trip, although they did start traveling south to the holy city. No, when Luke says that Jesus was determined to go to Jerusalem, he's talking about the nature of the journey. This is a theological statement. From this point on, Jesus was heading to the cross. This journey wouldn't be one of fame and fortune, of cool tricks and popularity. This road would be marked with sacrificial love, suffering, forgiveness, and death on a cross. This was the way to life, to freedom, to resurrection. And his disciples had to follow. From this point on, following wouldn't be so easy. They were about to see just how challenging God's kingdom really is, and how hard following can be sometimes. From that point on, following got harder. There are even several stories closing out chapter 9 about people deciding that the cost was too high or the sacrifice too great. Followers started peeling off, going home, giving up. But for those who persevered, they would see the fullness of God's kingdom and all its hardship, beauty, and power. As I think about this turning point, I think it's true in all of our lives as well. I know as a young man, I looked to God as sort of a genie in a bottle, someone who wanted the best for me, wanted me to win, wanted to take care of me, and that was true. But it wasn't the whole picture. There was a point in my own journey when I realized that sometimes following Jesus and living in God's kingdom isn't immediately fun or rewarding. Sometimes it looks like sacrifice. Sometimes it looks like suffering. Sometimes it looks like stepping back and serving. For each of us who desire to follow Jesus, this turning point is important. It's the turning point that helps us to see the fullness of God's kingdom and the depth of what following Jesus is all about.